Well, guys, it's another day ending in Y. So, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the Liberal Party of Canada are throwing more spaghetti at the wall, hoping something will eventually stick. And by this, I mean they are throwing mud at Pierre Poilievre, trying to smear his character, thinking that this is their route back into being competitive in the next federal election. It's not going to happen. The next federal election is effectively being conducted along the lines of people's opinions on Justin Trudeau and the Liberals' record. Saying that Pierre Poilievre is a bad man does not actually make people like the Liberal Party. And on top of that, what they're saying about Pierre Poilievre is not really even criticisms. It's just kind of like vague, well, he's sort of nasty, without being able to really prove anything. And if anything, that just makes people more skeptical of the perspective that the Liberals are coming from. When you actually have very concrete criticisms that can be made against you, you're deeply corrupt, your policy sucks, you guys like talk to people in a very high-handed manner, that being paired up with you attacking Pierre Poilievre because he's far right or something only makes you seem more pathetic and desperate. And that's what all of this stuff is. So I want to look through several social media posts here, including some videos that the Liberal Party has posted to their own social media. That's the funny thing here. I never go and find some sort of right-wing account that's going after the Liberals and just like reacting to it of like, oh, look at them making fun of Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau is such an idiot. I go and look up the Liberals' own stuff and I just criticize that. It's hilarious how bad their own social media is. Again, I stand by what I've said for a while now. The Liberals need to fire their communications team. These people don't know the Liberal Party strengths. Really, there's not that many that exist. I'm obviously a conservative. I don't want the Liberals to win. But it seems like their comms team doesn't understand how to reach middle-class Canadians who don't already like them. So they keep putting out stuff that makes them look really petty and weak. So first up, we have this graphic that the Liberals posted. It says up top, Pierre Poilievre will pander to the far right and leave 2S LGBTQI plus Canadians behind. Guys, for one thing, never use that full acronym. It's annoying and it just makes people roll their eyes at you. If you're going to say something, just say LGBT. That's it. If you say the full thing, you guys seem like you're pandering to the far left hyper-progressive urbanites who are the only people that appeals to. But the rest of the graphic is based off of a Hill Times headline, the Hill Times being a very center-left liberal biased publication. And the graphic says, Poilievre's comments on trans people show he is taking cues from far right and PPC factions, observers say. And observers say, they're not even saying experts say, it's just merely, well, this man has eyes and he has observed something, and because he's liberal, he's saying that Pierre Poilievre is a bad man. I even defended Pierre Poilievre back in the day when he had, rightfully so, when he had come out against gender theory and a lot of this sort of trans rhetoric being taught in the classroom. It's dangerous to kids. I even got attacked by Press Progress in an article where they're saying I didn't care about gay or trans kids being abused. They had no evidence. So the headline was basically their only evidence, their made up headline. And then the rest of the article proved that I didn't say anything wrong. And this is basically what they're still digging up. Something from back in November, because I remember I made the video defending Poilievre, then Press Progress attacked me. It wasn't the Hill Times at the time, but the Hill Times is digging up stories from 8 months ago that already didn't play ball. And now they're trying to push it again because maybe the second time we try and smear Pierre Poilievre along these lines, it'll work. Also, I just want to slip in here. It's very deeply ironic that I was defending Pierre Poilievre. Rightfully so. He deserves to be defended all these things. And then in my riding of Calgary Signal Hill, somebody in the background of the Conservative Party disqualified me from the Signal Hill Conservative Party nomination. But I'm appealing that. I'll get into that more in the future. But that's just a little feeler for you guys. There's some insiders that definitely shouldn't be inside the Conservative Party who are sort of leading it astray in certain ways. But now I want to get to the second liberal graphic right here. And again, it's more stuff trying to make you panic because Pierre Poilievre might be fiscally responsible. That's effectively what this is all getting at. So we have the Liberal Party saying Pierre Poilievre would make deep cuts that would gut the middle class. Guys, the middle class is already deteriorating. Either people are getting a lot of liberal government subsidies through their fake businesses, like many liberal ministers are even getting, and they're entering the upper class, or like most people, they're either struggling to stay middle class or they're slipping into the lower middle class because of just the general cost of things. And it's not businesses' fault. It's not the grocery cartels. It's taxes. It's regulations. It's a lot of things that the government controls. Because guess what? Before the government started messing around, nothing was wrong. There's this like left-wing conspiracy theory that every time the government starts meddling in the economy, then everything that went wrong was actually just big business doing it. Basically, they're acting like big business. Once the liberals raised taxes or regulations, that didn't actually affect prices, but corporations are coming to collude to then raise prices in the aftermath of these regulatory changes and pretend that it was the government's fault, as if it's not the government's fault. That's where I always say the left is actually so much more conspiratorial than any factions on the right, because they truly think everything down to the price of bread is being fixed by a shadowy cabal of people. But the graphic then says Poilievre's message signals plans for an austerity agenda. Ooh. And I just got to say, guys, when 67% of Canadians in polling are saying that we spend too much money on the federal level, this message does not work. Trying to make people scared of austerity is really just trying to threaten them with a good time. But then we have the Liberals now going after Pierre Poilievre on firearms. This Liberal post says Liberals have delivered some of the strongest gun control laws in Canadian history. Pierre Poilievre would weaken them. Now, I'm a very pro-gun guy, but what's so pathetic about this is that the Liberals haven't even pushed their actual gun ban yet. They haven't tried to buy back any of the guns because they know it's a deeply unpopular thing that they've been pushing. People think that the real problem, rightfully so, is gang violence that the Liberals have been going soft on. And now the Liberals are trying to pat themselves on the back for something that they're not even really technically doing. Like, yeah, they ban some models of weapons and you can't purchase handguns. But if anything, based on what they were promising their base, they've actually kind of gone soft. But I'll look at the banning assault weapons, implementing national freeze on handguns. I should probably mute that because in a previous video they tried to slam me for using like playing 5 seconds of a song. But it says conservatives want to roll back our progress and weaken gun control in Canada. Has crime fallen since Justin Trudeau took office? Like, no. And this is where I'd kind of get frustrated with just the mentality of many liberal Canadians, that we can pass policies that even if I disagree with them on a fundamental level, I think going after gun rights is basically going after all property rights. I maybe don't own a gun, but I understand somebody's ability to own a gun is what gives me the right to own a car, and the government not saying, well, your car is hurting people through the environment, so we actually can ban your driving more than 20 kilometers a day or whatever. That's where I understand that guns are important. But even if you're like a liberal, wouldn't you, even if you think inherently guns are evil, wouldn't you think that, well, crime's gotten so much worse while we're doing all this gun control stuff? Maybe law-abiding gun owners weren't the problem here, but maybe I'm asking for too much by simply inquiring about that. But now I want to get to the magnum opus of the Liberals' new strategy to go after Pierre Poilievre. They have this new candidate for the riding of Ottawa-Carleton, which is where Pierre Poilievre is the current MP. This man, Bruce Fanjoy, who apparently has blocked me and blocked half the internet on Twitter. I guess he knows he's not going to be an MP, since if he was going to be an MP, he would know that he'd have to unblock all these people later. And so he's blocking everybody because he knows he's going to get smashed in the next election. But they're using this Bruce Fanjoy man to go after Pierre Poilievre in his home riding and try and make you think that he's an evil, racist, homophobic, nasty person.
2004. What does that year mean to you? To us here in Carleton, it was the year we got Pierre Poilievre. He was elected 20 years ago, and well, we don't have a lot to show for it. In his first year, he voted against same-sex marriage. In year 4...
It's like an extremely normal thing to have voted for in 2004. I don't know why people are like thinking that this is a big gotcha against Pierre Poilievre.
He told Indigenous peoples that they needed to learn the value of hard work more than they needed compensation for residential school.
That's also just a big misquote of Pierre Poilievre from the time. Like, there's a big sort of like hoopla around the fact that Harper had to go after Pierre Poilievre for making that comment, but it was more so that Pierre Poilievre says something that a lot of conservatives do, in fact, think that the problem on Indigenous reserves is that the government is too much and there's not enough room for actual individual effort. Pierre Poilievre was never saying like Indigenous people are lazy. He was saying that there's not enough incentive for people to go and do for themselves, which is the problem with the welfare state in general, which affects literally every community. It just affects the Indigenous community in particular, because that's where the government absolutely dumps resources, and it's been incredibly toxic for that particular community.
In year 10, he made it harder for Canadians to vote. In year 18,
Do I have to tell you that that's not true at all? Also, think about how much they're having to jump around in a minute and a half video where they could name a lot of great points about things that he did that were objectively bad for the country, and like, why would anyone do that? Oh, I can't believe he like hurt these middle class people. They're finding like these like points where only if you're very much already in the liberal camp, you don't believe them. The Fair Elections Act was actually trying to make sure that there was more integrity around voting, having voter ID, but liberals don't believe in voter ID, so I guess it was horrible that they did this. There were some other issues around third-party advertisers that they were legislating on. It was not at all something that was hurting democracy, but they're going to just sprinkle that in there and then move on because that's easier. Just, drive-by shooting of a smear attack against Poilievre. Don't substantiate any of it, because if you actually went into detail, you look like a clown. So that's why, this is also why the Liberals are losing. Their propaganda must stay as surface level as humanly possible, because if you dip below the surface at all, you realize there's nuance here, and that you can't smear Pierre Poilievre based on any of this stuff.
he encouraged chaos on the streets of Ottawa and across the country at great expense to the public and the economy.
Did lockdowns hurt the public or the economy? Just asking Mr. Bruce Fanjoy, or whatever his name is. I feel like I already forgot his first name. Maybe the lockdowns actually hurt people. That might have been why people showed up to Ottawa. I hate this idea that people are like, it was illegal to park trucks around Parliament Hill. Yeah, in a normal year, that's fully illegal. You can't do that. Also, the whole point was the people who showed up to Ottawa were voluntarily engaging in something that was illegal because of what the government was doing was also illegal. And frankly, you could probably add evil on top of that, basically saying you're no longer allowed to drive your own truck, which you are the only person in the cabin of because you're unvaccinated. That might have caused people to show up to Ottawa. So yes, can you not usually illegally park trucks around Parliament Hill? Sure. Also, maybe don't give people big incentives to do that. You know what? Screw this guy. Oh, sorry, you guys didn't actually see what was going on there. I was just playing that. But this is what he just said on in this next point.
Country at great expense to the public and the economy. And just last year, he reopened the abortion debate in Canada.
Screw this guy. That is a disgusting lie. Do you know what the Conservatives vote on? I'm a pro-life person. I think there should be discussions around these issues, but him bringing this up like it's a big negative that Pierre Poilievre did something absolutely unprecedented. It was nasty and horrible. Do you know what the debate was over? It was over whether there should be upgraded criminal sentencing for assaulting a pregnant woman and causing her to miscarry her child. Screw him. Screw him if he's going to say something like that. Oh, I can't believe he reopened the abortion debate, because he actually values the life of a pregnant mother and her unborn child, because that is something that 95% of Canadians would not be at all taking issue with. The 5% of people who literally are so hyper pro-abortion that they support the idea that that should not be anything more than a basic assault. But because we want to make that more than a basic assault, to cause it to be a greater crime to cause a pregnant woman to miscarry, that is attacking choice in Canada. This guy, you don't have any morals left. And he's trying to take some moral swings at Pierre Poilievre. Well, he's basically okay with assaulting pregnant mothers. No, he's an awful human being if he's going to try and pull that. Notice how in this section, they will not show you what the bill was about or any text of it. They'll just say he voted in favor of something. Just take our word for it that it was bad.
In Canada. Throughout his career, he's attacked workers and public servants and fought for American-style anti-union laws in Canada. Now he's been voting against $10 a day child.
He means right to work legislation. Your ability to work a job without having a union middleman tell you how you can work it, what hours you have to take, what wages you have to take, that you can go and get your own job. That is anti-union, far-right Republican politics. Giving people freedom. Giving people freedom, that's anti-worker.
Care, pharmacare, and housing investments. Pierre Poilievre's only priority has been to make deep cuts to programs that help Canadian families so he can cut the taxes of his wealthy friends.
Every single, having a cash for access fundraiser, that's not a cash for access fundraiser. I know a lot of these like left-wing organizations like The Breach. Again, the funny thing is that I am not at all like what someone would describe as like far right. And the thing is that even like the Conservative Party is pretty careful which media sources that they quote, because they know that the left-wing media will like, take their heads off if they quote rebel, even though rebel's fine. But the thing is that they'll generally avoid it. The left, the Liberals and the NDP will cite the most obviously far left, flat out communist publications, and nobody will take issue for it. The Breach, you have Press Progress there. They'll cite antihate.com and just openly conservative organization. They actually don't care about left-wing hatred or anti-Semitism. They will only go after something if it's slightly tinged with conservatism, even if they have to make up what kind of conservatism is involved. It's just could be some random racist person who has no political faction, and they'll say, look at this conservative, and then they'll try and tie them back to the Conservative Party. But the Liberals will like cite these smear merchants and socialists, and they'll never get called out for it. And again, really, this is just whimpering and whining because the Conservatives can actually raise money these days and the Liberals can't.
What kind of representative is that? Here in Carleton, we need a leader who is ready to make life more fair for everyone. Someone who believes in $10 a day childcare and doesn't call it a slush fund. Someone who will make retirement more secure.
The $10 a day childcare thing is flat out a slush fund. It's a slush fund for Liberal allies who are able to access the subsidy money, because the $10 a day childcare program makes it almost unaffordable to operate a private business in the daycare childcare sector if you aren't in the most ideal of locations or like a massive corporate childcare organization that's going to get more money from the Liberal government.
For seniors and not cut their benefits. Someone who believes that climate change is real and that we need to take action now for our environment and our economy. My name is Bruce Fanjoy, and I'm taking on Pierre Poilievre as the Liberal candidate for Carleton in the next election.
I don't want to go after him too much for his presentation. I'm definitely not the most charismatic man on the planet. But if you're using your hands in a video, don't like crab claw around here. I'm taking on Pierre Poilievre in the next election. Like, just loosen up the hands, Bruce, even though I think that you're kind of a horrible human being, but whatever.
Carleton, I believe that 20 years of Pierre Poilievre is enough.
Well, that was the Liberals' big pitch. Pierre Poilievre is a nasty, horrible man because he's conservative and he, blah, like vagary. And that's the problem with the Liberals. They have nothing but vague accusations these days. And when all you have left is vague accusations, you don't have a real narrative. Narratives need to be like really solid, visionary kind of things that you can tell the Canadian public. This is why we're good, and this is why the opposition doesn't get it, or they're bad or nasty. And it has to be specific. It has to feel like a very coherent way, a good way of being able to really sum up the problems of the country or something like that, or like how we're going to take ourselves from here and go and move the country into a higher position. But the Liberals don't have that. They have programs. They keep passing more money for more programs that don't work and are then just running on that Pierre Poilievre is going to take away these useless programs. That's it. It's a government on its last legs. They don't really know what their reason to exist is anymore. And so merely they're just spending our own taxpayer monies trying to bribe us. And then slinging mud at Pierre Poilievre, saying that he's vaguely far right based on surface level, vague accusation. Anyways, That should be it for me today, guys. I'm going to keep the outro really short. But if you want to donate to my legal fund, it's in the Give, Send, Go link in the description below. We're being sued by a billionaire developer for defamation that he cannot prove. And after more than 2.5 years, he's not submitted any evidence for. So if you want to help us out, you can go to that Give, Send, Go link, click on it, donate something, and I deeply appreciate it if you do. Have a good one, guys.